Hello guys, this is a small introduction on how we can develop microservices based application using Express. The scenario goes like that. There is a client, it could be a website running on desktop or mobile, which is sending a request to an API gateway. The API gateway is simply a service which is going to take the request, looking at which type of request it is receiving, it will forward to any of the services. So in my example, there are three services: user service, catalog service, and cart service, which will be having their own databases. So user service will have its own database, catalog service will have its own database, and the cart service will have its own database. Catalog service is where we are going to list down all the products, and that's the reason why we are going for Mongo. User service and cart service, both of them are having their own structures, so we can go for any RDBMSs there. Just for simplicity, I'm using MySQL in both the places. We are not having any kind of restrictions here. We can go for any databases, whichever you need to use or whichever you like. And for languages as well, there is no restriction. But for this demonstration, I'll be using JavaScript and using Express.js in order to create all these services. So let us start working on this application. To start with it, we will be finishing this user service first. Then we'll go for catalog service, and then we can go for the cart service. So let us start working on these services. Let me go back here and create a new application called as Microservices Demo. In this Microservices Demo, I'm expecting to create 4 different folders. One folder for user service, second for catalog service, third for cart service, and fourth for the API gateway. So let's create all these directories here. So maybe I can say mkdir. The first one is the user service, the second one is catalog service, third one is the cart service, and fourth one is like the gateway. So we have got all the directories where we are going to put our services there. Now let's start with the user service first. Now in this case, I want to start working on Express application, which is going to have simple routes like registration and a login. So let's come back here and let's start working on this application. So how do we do this? There are multiple ways you can create Express application. I'm going to make a very simple example here. So I can say yarn init -y will be using the default answers for that package.json. The package.json is created. You can say yarn add express course. This is what I'm looking for. Again, I want to install the crypto.js. And because I'm going to use MySQL, I can say this is MySQL 2. So it will install everything that I need, and hopefully everything looks great here. So let's go back here and let's start working on this project. This is a very simple server I want to start with, where I can say constant express, which is going to require express. We can say, we can start with everything. So I can start with course. I'm going to need that. So I can say require course. Next thing is like const app, which is going to be equals to express. We'll create an application here and let that app listen on one port number, let's say 4000, where I want to run user service. So this is like 4000, and then on this case 0.0.0.0, there is a callback, and this callback will tell you that your server has been started successfully. So I would say console.log server started successfully. Now I just want to say that it is like the user server. So maybe I can say user, and instead of saying server, I would say user service started successfully on port 4000. So it will be easy for me to understand my service has been successfully created. Wonderful. Now before I forget, I want to say use cause. I want to say star, so that all the requests will be added here. Okay. Now first thing first, I want to create that db.js where we can import the MySQL. Maybe I can say SQL is going to be equals to require MySQL2. This is where we will start loading the MySQL. I'll create a pool here, MySQL.create pool, where I can pass all the required properties like the host where my server is running, its localhost, port number 3306. The database I have not created yet, will be creating that in a second. Maybe I can say user DB or user service DB. User service DB. Very simple. The root is the user, so user is going to be equals to root, and the password for me is again going to be root. So basically my all the details required to create a pool we have specified here. Let's go, and before we forget, say export the pool. That's it. So now we have the db.js ready. Let's create a new directory called as routes, and then right inside this route we'll be creating a module called as user.js, where we need the express. Again, we are going to do the same job here. We can say, we can say const router, which is going to be equals to express router. This is where we will be creating the router, and then we can say router.post. Maybe I can say sign up. This is where we can say request and the response. And again, I would need one more, that's going to be like sign in, and this is how we will be solving the problem. So module.exports, it's going to be equals to router. That's it. Okay, so I want to get some user details, which we can get them from the client by saying it's the first name, last name, email, and the password, where we can get them from request.body, and then we can load that db.js by saying db is going to be equals to require./db, and right inside this we can create the query by saying insert into users. I've not created that table yet, but we'll be creating in few minutes. Users, want to insert the first name, last name, email, and the password, and then we can say the values, which will be like first, second, third, and fourth. So there'll be 4 values that we are expecting from our client. That's first name, last name, email, and password, and that's where we can insert them. I want my password to be confidential, so I can say this is going to be done by using crypto.js, where you can say require crypto.js, and then you can create the encrypted password by saying, for example, encrypted password, which is going to be equals to, convert that into a string by saying crypto.js.md5, and this is the password which is sent in the plain text. Wonderful. I want to execute that query by saying db.pool.execute. This is the query. I want to pass all the parameters like first name, last name, email, and don't forget it's going to be like encrypted password. And this is where we may get an error, or maybe we can get a result. This is how we can get the result and send it to our client. For now, I can say response.send, where I can send the result, maybe error or the result. To make my life simpler, I'm going to create a new module here called as utils.js, and right inside this I can say const create result, which is going to be a function where we can pass an error and the result. Here we can check const result, which is going to be equals to empty object. If that is an error, then we can say result.status, which is going to be an error, and a result of error, like what error you can see here, can be sent by using an error. And if it is not error, that means it is success, then we can say it is success, and this is going to be the result or the data. Maybe I can pass that key as a data, and the actual object is going to be like result. So let's pass this on. I'm so sorry, because you cannot do that here. It's better to say that it's a data. And then we can say module.exports, which is going to be a function named create result. That's it. This is how we can put that create result, which will be kind of so generic. It will be getting 2 parameters, and based on that it is going to return the same response everywhere. So here I can say get that utils, which is going to be equals to require, maybe it's /utils, and then we can say result utils.create result. This is an error, and this is the result. That is what we are sending as a parameter that will generate a JSON which is constant throughout all APIs. This is how we can do the job. It's going to be like result and this. That's it. So we are done with that sign up here. Now similar to this, your sign in will also look almost similar, except that first name and last name is not needed. Encrypted password is needed, and there we can say select, maybe you can say count star, or you can say user details, whatever. Maybe I can say first name, we need the ID as well, first name, last name, maybe we can go for email, password is not needed, even email is also not needed. We can directly say from users, where email is going to be this and password is going to be equals to this, you know. So this is the query. These are the two parameters, email and encrypted password, and that's how we can solve the problem, you know. Maybe in my utils, I want to create one more function. Whenever I know this is going to be an error, I can generate that error. I mean, I don't have to pass that empty object or anything here. I can directly say it's like, you know, result is going to be error, and we can do the job here, you know. That's very simple. You might say directly return an object instead of creating one here as well, but it's fine. Similar to that, I want to create one more function, and I can say this is kind of a success function. Sorry, it's going to be like success result, where it is success, and you know it's going to be like data, and you can say it's a data, and again it's like a data. So this is how we can put all the both the methods, create error result and create success result. That's wonderful. Why am I doing it? Because when we are getting the data, select ID, first name, last name, it's going to give you an array. So probably I may say here that you are getting the users here, and if there is no user which is matching that email and the password, that means your user does not exist. So you may be having an error while sending the email and the password. So maybe I can say if users.length, which is equals to 0, that means user does not exist. And if the user does not exist, I want to say response dot send utils. This is an error, so I can directly create an error result and say user does not exist, you know. If not, meaning if there is at least one object inside the user, so I can set that directly from here and say create, because I know it's a success condition, I can say that as users of 0. So we can send an object of user as a result here, you know. That means user with required email and password found. So if we found that, we can send it to the result there. That's it. This is how we can get the job done, you know. By the way, I did not mention it, but it's better to have it. If error, that means if there is an error, then you also need to send that error in this condition as well, you know. So maybe I can say utils dot create an error result. This is an error I want to send, and then we can come back and say else if and the other conditions there. That's it. This is how we can implement the user service. Very simple, very straightforward. I'm not adding too many things here because that's a demonstration of how we can develop microservices based application using Express. I'm going to go back to the server because I'm expecting users input. I'll have to say app.use, maybe it's like express.json. This is like express.json. And lastly, I want to add all the routes. So this is like the route that I want to add. By saying user router, we can say require, you know, routes slash user, and then we can say app.use for user, and then this is going to be like user router. That's it. This is how we can get our job done. Very simple and very straightforward. To make that thing working, I'll have to create a database.sql here because this is where we want to initialize a database. So I can say create user service DB. Then we want to create a table. So create table, let's say users, which is going to have an ID, integer, primary key. Maybe I can say auto increment. We need the first name, which is of type varchar. Let's say 20 characters. Maybe I can say the last name, which is again going to be like varchar. Let's say 20 characters again. Email, which is again varchar, 50 characters the max. And the password, because we are going to store a hash, MD5 hash, better we can go for more than, let's say 10-15 characters. So it's better we can just say 100. This is the table that we are going to create inside the database. Now to do this, I want to go back here. We'll be creating or we'll be connecting to the database. So I'm running my database inside my Docker container. So maybe I can say Docker container, let's say MySQL bash, and then we can connect MySQL -u root -p. There we can say root, and then I can create that database. So copy this command, put it here. Sorry, create what? I'm so stupid, my bad. It's going to be like create database, and then we can say this is the database. Didn't mention it, but it's better we can write it here as well. User service database, DB. So use this database and then create the table here. That's it. So it seems like my database exists. So now I can come back here and run my application. Last thing, I just want to make sure that this database name and this database name is exactly same. It is. So seems like my application kind of done with this case here. So I can come back here. I can run node-mon server.js. Seems like it is working. Let me come back to my Thunder client and start creating different routes or different, you can say the APIs testing using that Thunder client. I don't need them. I'm going to go back here and create a new request. We can call this request, it's a post request. We can call this request as :/localhost:4000/user/signup. I can pass that as a body, and then I need I need first name, which is like user1, last name, which is like user1, email, which is like user1 @test.com, and lastly the password, say test. So let's come back here, send that request. Seems like I got that working fine. Maybe I can just use it as it is. It's not needed, to be honest. Let's go and say save. I'm going to go back and say rename and say this is kind of sign up. That's wonderful. And then I can create one more request. This is for maybe you can say for sign in, or maybe you can say post. This is where I can use HTTP ://localhost:4000/user/sign-in. We can go back to the body and we can send those email and the password parameters. It's like user1 @test.com, and the password, sorry, it's going to be like password, which is going to be equals to test. If I go back here and say send, something is missing, my bad. Here it is. And if I say send, it says the user exists. If I put the wrong password, I know this is wrong password, you can see an error saying the user does not exist and the status is error. If you pass the correct password, you see the status is success, and I get the information about the logged in user. Okay, let me go back here and say this is a sign in. This is not needed. Let's delete that and let's rename this and say this is sign in. That's it. We are done with our first service. It's working fine, and it seems like it is working on port number 4000. I'll keep this running for now, and I'll switch back to my desktop. So right now I want to create one more desktop right here. Sorry, I want to create one more desktop, and then we can start running our second application. So if I look at my requirement, the second application or second microservice is for catalog service, and I'm looking for Mongo. So first thing first, let me see if my Mongo is running successfully. Container ls -a. Mongo is also running here. Wonderful. So I'm going to go back and say this is where I want to start creating my application. So I may say it's like in my /tmp Microservices Demo, and the application that I want to start here is like catalog service. Again, I can say yarn init -y yarn add. Everything will be same except MySQL. We are going to use something called as a Mongoose. Mongoose is the npm package which is used for connecting your application to the MongoDB. It's a ODM package, so it will be easy for you to define your schema and connect it to the server. That's it. That's the reason why we generally go for this. Now most of the files I'm going to need from the previous one, so maybe I can come back here and I can say cp /user service. I'm going to need that utils.package here because I don't want to write it again. I can just reuse that. So this is what we already have written last time. I'm going to go back here. I think I need the server as well. So cp /user/server.js here. Few things will be changed, but most of the things will be exactly similar. So this is needed, this is needed, this is also needed. There is no route directory right now, so let's create that routes directory, and right inside this we want to create catalog. You can say the products as well, catalog.js, and right inside this I want to go for getting the data from the database. Now how do we do that? I'll show you that in a second. First, let's go back here. I do not want to write too much of code at this point because we already have written something similar, so I can simply copy these things and put them here. Again, before I forget, maybe I can say const router, which is going to be equals to express.router, and then we can say module.exports is going to be equals to router. The catalog service will have only one. If you want, you can go for the another one, like add and get all the products. So I'm going to say router.get. This is where we want to get all the products. So request and the response. Here we will get all the products, and here I want to create a new product, saying post, and then we can go for getting the data from the user. So inside my post, what am I expecting? Maybe I can say title, description, let's say price. Maybe if you want, you can put the category and so on and so forth. I mean, choice is yours. I think 3 things are more than sufficient. So this is where we are expecting the data from request.body. Now we haven't started connecting our database to the Mongo, so we will have to do it. To do this, I'm going to go back here, open another port, and say docker container exec. Sorry, it's container exec. It's not MySQL, it's like the Mongo bash. It's not running really. Let me just go, I'm sorry, it's container ls-l a. It seems like it is exited. No worries. I can start that Mongo, and if I look at this, seems like it is started successfully. Wonderful. So let me come back here. Let me say Mongo bash. I can see it's Mongo. Seems like it is connected. Show DBs, and it seems like I've got some databases here. I can create a new DB by saying use. This is catalog service. So catalog service underscore DB. And that's it. I just need only database, nothing more than that. All the models and other things will be created by using Mongoose. So what is a Mongoose? So if you look at the Mongoose, just search for Mongoose. And if you look at the mongoose.com, here you can find it is an elegant MongoDB object modeling for Node.js. So how does it work? It simply works by connecting your application by using some schemas, and that is what we are supposed to create here. So first thing first, let me copy this and go back to your applications server.js and put it here. Now inside this, I mean, before you start creating this application, I think better we can start saying connect to the DB or MongoDB better. So where is it running? It's running on the same application, on the same server. That's a localhost 127.0.0.1 on the same port 27017, and the database name that I've chosen here, let me copy and paste it. It's like the catalog service, so put it there. So again, it is having the format of maybe MongoDB is the protocol. You can use here : it's the IP address, server IP address, the port number, mostly the port number. If you want to go with the default, it's 27017, and then you can say the DB name. So this is how we can take care of connecting our Mongoose with the database. Now as I said, service, I think, my bad, there is a small spelling mistake. Let me just connect here. That's fine. So now when we say you are connecting to the database, if you want to create some data, or maybe if you want to get some data, you will have to create the models. To create the models, I'm going to create a directory called as models, and right inside this I'll create a model called as product.js. Now how do you create a model? To create the model, you can go back to the Mongoose.js again, go for read the docs, and this is where you can find how to create the schema. To create the schema, I can directly copy and paste it from here, and I can say const schema, which is going to be equals to Mongoose. What is Mongoose? Maybe we can say const Mongoose, which is going to be equals to require.mongoose. That's it. So Mongoose is going to be like schema. If you want, you can directly write the schema here itself. You don't have to literally create 2 different lines, but choice is yours. Now this is not the block schema, this is rather the catalog or product schema. product is catalog for me. What do you want to have here? So I want to have title for that product, which is of type string. Let's say description for that product, which is of type string, and the price for that product, which is going to be a number. So this is how we can start creating our data. It's going to be very simple: title, description, and price. Do not forget to export this. So module.export. This is going to be like, I want to create that product schema by saying mongoose.model, and then instead of saying that's block schema, we can say this is the product schema, and the collection I want to create here, which is named as products. So the collection will be created with name products. So if you say product, it will go in the plural form and it will create a collection with the name products. That's it. Now I can come back to the catalog service and I can import that model by saying this is the product, which is going to be like require /model/product, and I can create a new object here by saying const product, which is going to be equals to new product. We can say product dot title, which is going to be equals to title, product dot description, which is going to be equals to description, then product dot price, which is going to be equals to price, and then we can say dot save, then we can pass, that's an error, and then the result. That's it. Okay, so as I said last time, all the time the response will use that utils dot create result function by passing the error and the result. So if everything goes well, you will get the success. If not, you will get an error. Wonderful. Okay, so coming back here, I want to get all the data. So to get the data, maybe I can come back and say it's going to be like product dot find. There is no select case here. We can find all the products. So we can say find error, you can say products, and then we can return the data by saying response dot send utils dot create result. This is an error and the result, so you can say the products. That's it. It is that simple. All we are saying here is get all the products, and here we are saying create the new product for me. I'm going to go back to the server. It's not the user router, it's like the catalog router, which is going to be like route/catalog, and here it is going to be like catalog, and then we can say catalog server. That's it. So this is how we'll take care of creating our catalog service. Hopefully this will work fine. But you know what? The 4000 port is already been taken by user service. So let me run this on 4001. So this is the catalog service started successfully on port number 4001. Wonderful. As you can see, it's very simple. It's very straightforward. Now let's go back to our application and start running this as well. It is running on port number 4000. It seems like I'm getting an error, cannot find DB. It's not needed as well. So I think I copy pasted that, and then I forgot to remove this and this. It is not needed. So coming back here, running this application one more time, seems like, oh, Mongoose is not defined inside my product.js. What it is not running? Mongoose. I think Mongoose is needed, so I was not sure. Mongoose, which is going to be equals to require Mongoose, and then instead of doing it here, I may say it's Mongoose. Wonderful. So hopefully this will work fine. Seems like my process started successfully on port number 4000. There are some deprecation errors. You will have to say strict query to false and other stuff here. I'm not interested in that right now. All I'm interested here is like whether my application is working or not. So coming back here, this was something I used last time. I'm going to go for creating a new request. This is for get. First we'll go for post. We'll save this. We'll change that and say it is like create product. So this is where we want to go for http://localhost:4001/catalog, and this is where we want to pass the data. The data, like in this case, the title, which is like product 1, and then we can go for the description, and we can say this is a test product. And lastly, I can go for a price, and I can say the price, it's let's say 100 or 1000. That's it. So it's giving me an error, 4000 catalog. Is it not running? Let's see, local host. Sorry, there's a spelling mistake. Host. And if I say send, seems like product 1 has got successfully created. How do I know that? I can come back here. I can say show collections, and I can see the products got successfully created. I can say products dot find, and I can see that this product has been created successfully. Let's give it one more choice, or one more option here to create the test product. This is the test 2 product. The price is, let's say, 4000. And if I say this, it is kind of created successfully. Wonderful. Now I want to go back here and probably let's close this. It's not needed. Maybe both of them are not needed. We can just keep only one of them, and we can go for the second request. I think better for me to just now, this is create request, right? So maybe we can change this and say this is like the get request, and probably again that's the second host. That's it. This is where we want to rename it and say get products or get catalog, whatever. If I say send, I can see, oh, there is an error. I'm not able to see any of them. Why is not? Let's see this very quickly. What it is not working. Sorry, I have to go back here and say this is product.js. If I go for catalog.js, am I saying that catalog right? I hope I am. Let me check that. Catalog 4001, that is right. So here we are looking for product. Oh, sorry, my bad. Did not give the correct syntax. That's the reason. So it is looking for the the select condition. So I didn't mention that. That's the reason why I was getting that error, and I should have seen it. But anyways, if I go for the get products and if I say send, oops, it's still giving me an error. Let's see what is an error very quickly. Product.find. There is no requirement of it. You can directly go for getting this one here. That is also fine. Okay, if it is giving me an error here, we can try using the exec, and we can try this as well. So there is no requirement of going with this. There is still an error. Do we have the product here? It seems like I'm getting the data, but in the Mongo shell, it seems like it is giving an error here. Let's see what is an error right now. So I can at least see where the error is coming from. Where is it? Where I need to fix the problem. So this is an error. The error is null, and probably if I go for my code, seems like this is the products I'm looking for. So console.product. Sorry, it's my bad. It seems like I'm calling a wrong function. Everything is working fine. It seems like I'm calling the wrong function. I should have gone for create results. It's my bad. So things are really working fine. There's no problem with that. It seems like I was calling the wrong function, but seems like everything is working fine. Great. So you see that I'm getting my user data. So if I sign in and sign up, both of them are working fine. So I can see that here, and at the same time I'm getting the data for all the products there. So seems like our user service is also done and the catalog service is also done. Similarly, you can have as many services as you want. Now to just finish it off very quickly, all I'm going to do here, create one more instance, and let's come back and copy and paste that user service, slash this. I'm going to go back to the cart service, and into the cart service and cp everything. So probably maybe instead of doing it, why don't you go for this rf minus rf cart service, and then you can say cp minus r user service as the cart service. So this is the better option. I'm going to go with the cart service right now, and probably I'll just modify that very quickly to take care of the cart implementation. So code dot, here we'll go for the DB. Instead of using the user service, I can say this is the cart service. Use that here. You can say this is going to be like cart. ID is like the cart ID. This is not needed. Instead, we can say this is the user ID, which is an integer, and then the product ID, which is again an integer. the price at that time when we are adding that to the cart. It might happen that the price may change later, you know, so this is going to be like double. And it is also kind of denormalization, but it makes more sense to go for storing the product name as well or product title as well, because if you change that title later after you add that product into the cart, you will lose the value at that particular time. So it's better to have it here. So it's going to be like 200, it's more than sufficient. I think 100 is also good. Fine. So we have the cart details here. So let's create that database and let's start working on that. So I want to again go for using MySQL minus u root minus p. Root is the password. I'm going to go back here, create that cart service database, cart service db, and then we can run this code and create the cart. So my database is ready. Now everything will stay almost same except few things. So db.js will have the next database name, that is the cart service db, and instead of having the user.js, I'm going to rename this and say cart.js. Everything will stay same except few things. So here I want to add a new cart item by getting some details like user ID, the product ID, and let's say the title, and the price. I forgot to put the quantity. To be honest, I should have added it here. Hold on, it's better for me to put it before I forget. So this is where we want to add the quantity, which is going to be integer, which is going to be like default 1. So probably it will make sense to just insert it, and by default it will get 1 quantity set for that product. So drop table cart, and this is the table, new table definition that I want to create. Default 1, I'm so sorry, integer default 1. I'm sorry, it should have worked. Anyways, not not so important for me to fix it right now. That's okay. So I can have that quantity and everything set now. I can come back to the database, do the cart.js and take care of the next part. We don't need this. The query will go like insert into cart. I want to insert all these values which happen to have the same name as that my column. So copy and paste them here. There are 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we should have 5 question marks here. And let's use that query, pass the parameters, and we are done. That's how we can do it. Now, if you want, you can get the cart items. So maybe I can say this is like get for the user ID, you know. So this is the user ID. So we want to get that for a particular user ID, and this is how we can do it, you know. So I can say select ID and you know, all the different parameters that we were looking for. Like the user ID is not needed, but we do need this data. Like this is the select ID blah 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 from cart, where user ID is going to be equals to question mark. Okay, we want to go for only one thing right now, and that is the user ID. Okay, now here it's not the users, here it's like the cart items, and these cart items I simply want to send them by using, you know, a very simple implementation of it, which is going to be like utils dot create result error and the cart items. That's it. So we are done here. Now before I forget, if I go to the server.js, it's not the user route, it's like the cart route, cart, and then this is going to be like cart router, and then we can go for cart. Again, 4001 is running, or 4000 is running user service. 4001, I think this on this port my other catalog service is running, so I'm going to choose this as 4002. This is the cart service I'm running on port number 4002, and it's 4003. Oh, 4002, I think, believe me. Yeah, so I think that is fine. Everything is looking okay to me. I'm going to go back and run this application by saying node mount server.js. 4002 is where it is working fine. Let's go back to the Thunder client and create 2 more routes. First one, I want to use this one as :// localhost :4002/cart, and this is where we want to add a new item inside my cart, which is going to be like the product ID. It's going to be like product ID. I know the product ID is going to be equals to 1, user ID, it's going to be like 1, the title, all these things, all these details will be sent by your front-end application, so you do not have to worry about that. This is like the product 1 and the quantity, sorry, so the quantity, okay, so this is like quantity, sorry, my bad, quantity, haha. Okay, quantity is going to be equals to, let's say 10. I'm going to look for that products 10. Oh, I need to go for a price, and the price, I think it was something like 100. That's how it is. Do I have that column price here? Oh yeah, price is already there. Wonderful. So now it seems like we have that request created. Probably I can save this here and rename it and say create cart item. And this is where we want to create a cart item. If I say send, there is no title in the fields list. Sorry, it seems like I'm having a wrong database, it's product title, wrong database column. So if I go for this, it's not the title, and this is not the title either. This is like the product title. So coming back here and trying to run this application one more time, create cart items is what I'm looking for. Send it, it got created successfully. Wonderful. I'm going to go back here and create a new request. We'll say that again, colon slash, sorry, the heck, colon slash, it's going to be like localhost colon 4002 slash cart, and this is where I'm looking for the user 1 cart items, and I can see, oh, localhost 4002 cart colon 1, that's right, slash 1. I'm getting that cart cannot be retrieved. Why not? Let me say, oh sorry, it's going to be like get method, not the post method. That's the reason. Anyways, it seems like everything is working fine, and I'm able to get all my cart items that I've added here. So maybe I can say get cart items. That's it. So seems like all my requests are running fine, all my servers are running fine. I can see them listed here. So probably you can see here, this is my user service working fine, this is my catalog service using fine, and this is like cart service which is really working fine. At this moment I can say that my microservices application is done. Adding a gateway is I mean, you can say it is optional. You may or you may not have it. Main implementation will go inside these services, and we are having all the services which are readily available here. So this is an example where we are going for implementing all the services using JavaScript inside the Express.js. This is a simple demonstration of it. Okay, so let's continue further and implement that API gateway. Now for this API gateway, we will be creating a new application with something called as the Express Gateway. That is a package which is providing the gateway capability. So let's see how it can be done. To do this, let me create one more workspace here, and we'll start writing a gateway interface here. To do this, let me start creating this. Maybe I can go back to our application one more time. That's Microservices Demo. And inside this there is a directory called as a gateway. Now we have to create a new application with the help of Express Gateway. So for which maybe we can search for Express Gateway. Maybe we can search for this, and here you will get that express-gateway.io. Now this is the one which is used for building a simple application using the Express Gateway, and this is the gateway that you can use for maybe you can say sending the request coming from your server to your one of the services. So we are going to use this application or this package called as Express Gateway. Now the instructions already have been given. If you just click on that quick start, this will tell you what all different things which are needed here. So you need to install that Express Gateway as a global application here on your machine, which on my machine I already have installed, but let's go for it one more time. So coming back here, I can say sudo npm install Express Gateway. This will update my Express Gateway application. It will take a minute or two, and once it is done, you will see it is going to start using that Express Gateway. It will take a minute, just hold on. It's taking a lot of time, I guess. Let's hold. Great. So it's about to done. Now once it is done, you will have to create that gateway directory. So to do this, I need to delete that gateway directory first, and we are going to create it by using something called that EG. EG is like Express Gateway, which is a utility that you just have installed here globally. So you can say EG gateway create. So I'm going to go back here and say EG gateway create. What is the name of your Express Gateway? I can call this as a gateway. This is the same directory I want to use that Express, and I'll start with getting started with Express Gateway. So what it will do is like it will create a new directory called as gateway in your current directory, which in my case is this. And if you go for that gateway application, if you open this, you will see that it is a very simple Express application which is using a configuration given inside that config directory. So right inside this, there is something called as gateway config.yaml, which is used for updating all the service definitions you are having. Now in our application, we are having 3 services. So if you look at the diagram here, the diagram shows that we are having 3 services, and if you recall, those 3 services are running on 3 different port numbers. So this is running on port number 4000. So this is running on port 4000. This one is running on port 4001, and this is running on port 4002. So we know the configuration here. All of them are running on my single machine or my local machine, and they are running on the different port numbers. Not necessary that they have to run on the same machine, but right now for our implementation, we are running them on the same machine. So we have to go here and start configuring the application. Now once this gateway will start running, we'll be using port number 8080, not 4000, not 4001 or 4002. We'll be using that port number 8080. So how will we configure this? Let's start step by step. We do not need admin port for that. We have 3 API endpoints. One of them is going to be like user. For me, the host is the local host, meaning this application is running on my current machine, and this application will get everything starting with user, or if there are anything after that, we'll be using them and passing them to the user service. Next is the catalog service we are having, where the host is again local host. Again the path, if you can recall, we are using the path as catalog. So this is like catalog, and again everything that is followed by catalog. So catalog /star. And lastly, we are having the cart service, which is like the host, local host, and probably the path. It's not path, it's like paths, so it's multiple plural, and then we can go for cart, so /cart, and then /cart/star. So all of them are, you can think of them as an API endpoints, meaning if you are saying localhost :8080/user, this will redirect your request to the host, local host, and we'll have to define the URL in a second. So this is where we are going to start defining the services. For example, I'm going to call this as my user service, and user service, we know that it is running on port number, so it's localhost port number 4000. It is where it is running right now. Similarly, I can go for catalog service, which is having a URL of http://localhost:4001. And lastly, it is like the cart service, which is having the URL. Again, it is http://localhost:4002. So we are having three services: user service, catalog service, and the cart service, and this is where we are going for. We do not need basic auth policy, because if you want to go for it, you will have to create a user, and probably you will have to start configuring the API and the keys. We don't want to do that. Instead, we will be directly jumping on the pipelines part, and here we can say we have 3 services, meaning 3 pipelines. For example, this is the user pipeline, which is having an endpoints. Endpoints is the one which we have configured earlier, so maybe I can say user. This endpoint we already have configured here, so this is what we are saying. Out of that, the user pipeline is going to have the user as a endpoint, API endpoint, and there are only, there is only one policy that we have to go for. So it's policies, only one policy that we have to configure, and that is a proxy policy. Inside that we have to define an action, and this action will have two keys. One is like service endpoint, which in my case it is user service, which we already have configured here, so this is the user service, and that's it. This is for the user pipeline. Similar to this, we have to go for the another one, that is catalog pipeline, which is going to have the catalog. Please make sure that this and this is matching. So this is catalog API endpoint, and the service is like catalog service. Make sure that this and this is matching. So if you have any issue here, or if you have any spelling mistake here, it will not work. Well, lastly, this is the cart service or cart pipeline. So this is where we can say the cart pipeline. The API endpoint is cart. Again, make sure that it is having the same spelling as this. No, it's a case sensitive one. And lastly, this is going to be the cart service. Make sure that this cart service is matching with the services endpoint here. And that's it. There is nothing more than that is needed in this case. So once you're done, you can start running your server here. I'm getting an error. What it says, data user pipeline policies proxy. Okay, so let's see here, maybe user policies, user policy. Okay, here it is, policies, the proxy, the action. I'm so sorry, there is an action, and there's one more thing, which is like change origin. I said there are two and I forgot one. It's true, so it's origin 2. That's it. Next, again one more time, this is like change origin equals to true, and lastly this is again change origin is equals to true. Hopefully this is the space management is very important here, because this is YAML, and YAML depends, or YAML syntax requires correct use of space. So that was another problem why it was not working. I believe everything is working fine. You can see that the gateway server is listening on port number 8080. What does that mean? That means if I go back here, I do not need anything like that. You can simply go back here and say, hey, I want to go for http://localhost:8080, and if I look at the cart/1, it should give me the cart information. See, I'm sending the request to the API gateway, which is running on port number 8080. This API gateway has a mapping, and if you look at the mapping goes like that. /user is running on port number, http://localhost:4000, and this is what we said inside our configuration, you see. So probably if I look at this URL, this URL is configured. I'll show you that. This URL is configured right inside our config file. So this is where we are saying, if I get a user service, I want to go to that http://localhost:4000. This is what we are saying. Similar to that, if you say it is /catalog, it is going to http://localhost:4001. So it is just a mapping. And lastly, if it is a cart, it is going to http://localhost:4002. So precisely when we are talking about a API gateway, this is nothing but a mapping. And when I say mapping, it's nothing but the request rerouting. So if you are sending a request to the API gateway will see what is the path here. If it is a user path, it will send that request to this. So in short, when you are getting this request here, so imagine this request is sent by your client, the API gateway will find it, and the request probably is made for, let's say, get/catalog. So what it does, the the client will send that to the API gateway, and API gateway checks it. What is this? It's /catalog. So it says that the /catalog should forward this request to this URL. So it simply passes it to the catalog service, which is this. Catalog service processes that, it gets data from the Mongo database, and then it creates a request for that. It creates a response for that. So this response will be sent back to the original client. So the original client is nothing but this, and thus the client will get the response. So in short, implementing these microservices are very simple, and to make matter even simpler, there is a package called as Express Gateway, which can be used for implementing the API gateway there. Using API gateway is optional. If you want to configure all these URL explicitly inside your client app, you don't need an API gateway. But using API gateway is preferred in the real world, simply because using it, this will make your life simpler, that you do not have to remember all the different URLs and all the different port numbers. You can use only one URL, one port number, and that will do the job. So this is a demonstration of how we can implement the microservices by using Express and JavaScript as a language. I hope this must have given you an understanding of how it can be implemented by using the gateway as well. Thank you guys.